Yeah, welcome everybody. David, thank you for this little introduction of my person. It's a pleasure to be here. Last year I was just a participant. This year I have the honor to give a speech to you. And it's as mentioned about the shift from manual processes to data-driven tools. So what I want to show you, typically I don't do that at the very beginning, but give you a glance overview about our company so that you get a feeling in what environment we are active, and what are our challenges. Then I want to give a brief overview about today's market and competitor intelligence. The third point will be an outlook, what we're going to do. And the fourth part, I think that's most interesting to you, what we have achieved so far, what are our upcoming milestones, and as last point, our learnings out of that so far. I hope that you're all okay with that, and that I want to start. So ZwickRoell is a partner in materials testing. So to be more precise, in destructive materials testing. We are located in Ulm. This is in the southern part of Germany between Stuttgart and Munich. And we have a long-lasting history. We do this testing for 160 years. Just a brief number, 1,800 employees worldwide, about 300 million euros of sales. And I think that's a challenging part from a market and competitor intelligence perspective. We have solutions for more than 20 industries and plus 15 product groups that we have in our portfolio. And that you just get an impression. I don't want to go into detail, but this is more like the range of our products. Everything has to do with testing. Testing plastics, metal, automotive, medical, pharma applications, paper, wood, everything you can imagine needs to be tested, and we have a product for that. Another topic, for sure, we come from Germany, but we sell worldwide. We have production sites, but also subsidiaries and sales partners worldwide, and also facing the different challenges of the regions, different market trends, and so on, that has to be considered from a market and competitor intelligence perspective. So that's it about our company. I think we just settled materials testing, plus 20 industries, plus 15 product groups. This is my situation. And how is market and competitor intelligence done today? Let me start with competitor intelligence. I think the typical part is we collect and filter information. This is typically done by one person. This was one guy doing that for decades, retired mid of August. That's why I have the honor to be here to present it to you. There's a huge network. We do some automatic crawling, web pages, updates that's going on, and also some semi-automatic crawling about the social media that gets more and more important. A lot of information is just spread there, no longer updated on their web pages. Then we do distribution and storing of data. So we have an internal distribution mechanism via email. Every news that pops up is just sent out to a list of recipients. Hopefully we get the right ones. And we also store that data, the news, in an Access database that is set up decades ago. Next. And the point is, what is missing in my eyes, we just spread it out. There's no feedback loop. Is the information helpful? We don't get actions or only limited actions that are just disconnected. And as a summary, I would say, especially the middle part is just done manually. And all data we stare in that Access database, which is quite huge. And that you also get an information, it's about 700 plus alive competitors that are up to now in that database. So it's a huge amount of knowledge that we have. Let me quickly go through over to this market intelligence. So there is no standardized process. So we just do market analysis, market trends. Some do it by yearly during the annual report, like the industry managers. Others do it beginning of a strategy, typically 5 years at the very beginning, maybe at the end, to get an overview about the market trends, the market size, market potentials. Due to that, we also have siloed insights. That means we have no clue who is doing it. Some regions do it, some product divisions do it, but there's no linkage at all. And that also means we have limited transparency. What's going on? What kind of market information is really available within our group? And I guess there's lots of knowledge, but we just have not put everything centralized into one database. And this also leads to missed opportunities, because if you have just a lack of transparency, you do not know what's going on, you maybe cannot get to emerging market trends and something that in a very early step, you just need to adopt later on. So that means it's fragmented, insights are gathered inconsistently across regions, product divisions, and even functions. Now coming to the next point, as I just mentioned, we had one guy retired mid of August. So I took over that topic and we said we need to do something. We need to find a way how we can get to the next level, to this 2.0 thing. And that's what we want is to get from isolated insights to a centralized, and I think when you look at the right point with these disconnected actions that are just shown, to a collaborative platform. Later on also with CRM integration, because I think this is a valuable feedback. You need to be there where your stakeholders are. So what points should be covered in future? I think that's clear. It's competitor analysis, really identify, evaluate your competitors and what's going on there. It's market analysis, understanding the market, but also the industry, which is really important for us, and even further down, the industry segments. Because it's not only an industry, sometimes if you talk of medical, pharmaceutical, which I did, it's a huge industry, but it's a difference if you talk to a biomechanics customer, if you talk to a pharma customer, so there are different market trends, different products, different solutions required. A third point, which was also mentioned, we also want to understand our customer better. We want to understand really their customer needs and the purchasing behavior of cross-selling, upscaling, what's going on. And as a last point, which is always, let's say, a fear of materials testing, can it be replaced? 40 years ago, it was said simulation will replace materials testing completely. Nowadays, we see this was not true because we are still there. We could increase our sales. But this is to really understand as an early warning system, market changes, identifying trends like for automotive, going to battery or to e-mobility and the combustion engine, which is no longer required, or maybe in future no longer required. So this is what our 2.0 platform should cover. And for sure, the roadmap, you cannot do not everything in one step. You need to think of how we start. Mid of August, we said we'll leave it as it is. The colleague is still there. He does whatever he did so far, just continue. But now we're in this transition period. So that means we want to get to this scalable, collaborative system where we really collect information and spread it system-wide and also get not only individual views. That means today only me now can access this access database, can distribute news to the colleagues that are interested. And further down, next year we plan to extend it by the market intelligence and later on also offer really a central data warehouse where you can combine all these different four blocks that I just mentioned to you, do analysis and so on. So this is our journey. And we started with competitive intelligence 2.0. And I want to quickly describe what we did so far. And to be honest, I hope to be much more advanced when I put down this topic quite a while ago, but I would just describe why this was not possible. So our journey more or less started in 2024. As mentioned, we had this competitive intelligence since decades. But then we said, okay, we need to ask our stakeholders. We need to really understand, hey, how satisfied are you with our today's competitive intelligence? What is missing? So we did a survey to really gather the expectations. And after that, when we just had a clue about, hey, what is interesting, what is necessary, and knowing that an access database is maybe not the perfect tool, most of you don't even know how to deal with that. Nobody really can access it. It's just limited by one person. So we also got into discussions with various suppliers, system vendors like all the outside. We talked to Cedura, Valona, whatever, to get some overview. What's possible? What's out there? What can a system provider offer us? And how we can integrate our today's knowledge, this use access database, and combine it also later on with external tools. So this was a good advancement, and then you see there was a delay. We had other priorities. We got a new ERP system. We decided to select a new CRM and service tool, so you can imagine other priorities. And then this mid of August, the retirement of this guy came closer and closer. That's why we said, hey, we need to do something. That's why beginning of this year, we said, we really have to define what we want. So we really created this vision, which seems very unspectacular to you, 4 blocks, 2.0, what do you want, and the roadmap. But it took us quite some time to really understand what do we want to have, what do we want to provide to our stakeholders in future. And then I think this was a very important step in July. We talked and presented this vision to the board of management to get their feedback, to the international MDs, but also to the entrepreneurs. That means the managing directors of our partners, to get an understanding, are we on the right track? What should be adjusted? And out of that came also the idea or the requirement to integrate it into a CRM system, best possible. Because as a salesperson, you do not want to switch to another platform to get information. You are in an opportunity. You really want to know I'm competing against this kind of competitor with that product group. I want to get updates on that specific opportunity, not going into a separate platform, crawling for that competitor, finding some general news. I think this is a very good point. What we did as a next step is we translated all these requirements in use cases and user stories. So I wrote a template of 30 pages for every 4 blocks, focusing now on competitive intelligence. What do we really want? What is our use case? What are the user stories? And this is now the precondition to discuss with ZwickRoell. As I mentioned here's better, like that, we talked already to different system vendors. And the delay that was in between also happened because we decided as a company to invest heavily into an AI-based knowledge management. And we decided to go with ZwickRoell. This is a Swiss-based company offering more or less a platform with a large language model which could be exchanged and the connectors. We have several use cases that could be handled with that. Today we have active this ZwickRoell for our hotline topics. So that means when a hotliner calls, he really can chat with that tool to get automatic feedback about the potential solutions, what to ask, and so on. Like ChatGPT, it's more or less like a chat function. And we use it for application test lab because every time the customer comes with similar kind of testing requirements, so that we really understand what kind of tools is required. And this ZwickRoell, this platform, we have to, by our board of directors, to evaluate if market and competitor intelligence works as well. Unfortunately, due to this decision taking longer, this ERP topic, we're not that advanced. We had a first view on that, a first demonstration, which was quite promising. So this tool can crawl web pages, can distract this information, put it into our platform. It should also be possible that a user can set preferences so that he is responsible to decide what kind of information is relevant for him. Nowadays, it's up to us to decide who will receive that information, but you can imagine if responsibilities change, he moves from one industry to another, he can change it in a way. And it's also possible to get some newsletter actions, some notifications in a way. But as a next step, unfortunately only in Q4, we do this POC, this proof of concept with ZwickRoell, to really understand whether our requirements for competitor intelligence can be fulfilled, what is possible, what are the limitations. And I think that is very much interesting for us because we already invested into these licenses. So I think that's clear that we have to do that, and I'm really very much looking forward to it. And based on that, as just said Q1, we really have to decide whether we want to implement that kind of use case with ZwickRoell, or if we have to go into an alternative selection of a supplier, a system vendor, like there's outside. And I think I feel a bit sorry that I'm not so advanced, but I think maybe next year I have the possibility to demonstrate to you how it ended up. But yeah, this is where we are and what is coming next for our journey. As last point, I want to share some learnings. One I did not even put there. Sometimes it took longer than expected due to other priorities. I think most of you are aware of that. So competitor and market intelligence is not always top priority, because at the very beginning, nobody cares if this information is missing. But once it happens, then it's a real mess. So our learnings, I think that's my summary. So really to engage stakeholders, to involve them early and actively so that they're not silent recipients of information, but they really are co-creators that help you in setting up that system. That you document the vision so that you know what you want and really write it down, because I think it's helpful to, again, discuss it and hopefully get quick wins that build trust. Because if we would step in with all these 4 blocks, it would be a mess. We would never come up to a good solution. That's why we decided, let's start with competitor intelligence and then continue with market size, market trends, and so on. Focus on quality and relevance of data. I think that's a learning also we have. You get data from everywhere, but data is as good because you need somebody to interpret it. It's not only spreading data around, you need to have the right data, and therefore this feedback loop, I think, is really crucial to understand, is this data helpful or not? What kind of data should be required? So even if you have not KPIs ready, I think it's good to know how can you create value and think of demonstrating to measure it. Think about integration. I think that is what we already have in plan. Also this ZwickRoell, there will be a link to our CRM system, so that could be a potential way that our salesperson directly can access this platform and giving benefit. And also a lessons learned, I think we had this dependency on one person. We really need to change it to come to a bigger team, and we also need to change the ownership. What we had in the past, everybody looked at this guy, this poor guy. He had a huge experience for sure. But the product manager looked at that, give me some price updates. Do make some product comparison. And the finance guy or the CEO said, okay, there's a financial report, make a financial comparison about the major competitors. But this is impossible. We need also to change the ownership. A product manager, in my opinion, is responsible for knowing the product, making comparisons, being responsible for prices, and so on. Taking that data, making conclusions out of it. I see my role in providing the tools and the data so that somebody else can use that data and make some decisions or actions out of it. And this is not at all implemented in our company. I just have some recent discussions going on, learning about different expectations, but I think this is crucial. And another step, the management buy-in. That's why it was so important to share our vision so that they are okay with that. They have seen it, they have said to it, they gave feedback so that we really have this buy-in, that not then other opportunities pop up or priorities pop up, it's again lost. And I think it's clear, don'ts. every tool alone does not deliver the value you just have. It impacts on processes. And another topic we just heard about, change management. This change in responsibility that I just described is a huge change. It needs adoption, it needs training, it needs communication, and you have to redo it and redo it and redo it until they accept it. And what I just mentioned, data without context, spreading around data is great, it's not a problem at all because there's so much data available, but you need somebody who says the data is good, it's relevant, and I can do something with that data. And again, this one-person dependency. So I think this is more or less what I want to show you. I see I have really spent 20 minutes plus one for that topic. I hope it was interesting to take you on my journey, on our journey of ZwickRoell, how we want to deal with that topic. Looking forward to your questions. Thank you very much.